Have you ever asked someone a question or gone to look for information, and the next thing you know, you are just overloaded with all of the details and everything that's possible and all the information and more than you could ever deal with? Sometimes that more is not what we're looking for. Sometimes less is more. And it helps. Sometimes you avoid the overwhelm of all that information and trying to sift through it and figure out what makes sense. That ever happened to you? Well, think about that in a situation maybe that has happened as we get ready to start episode 890, where we're going to talk about less is more, avoiding overwhelm, and other things. All that and more on this episode of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom, good morning.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I'm better. My back is better. I'm feeling good.
Excellent. Good to hear.
Excited to talk through this topic.
I'm sorry?
I'm excited to talk through this topic.
Oh, so should we just dive right in? Not to the topic, but to the show?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast, where each week Bob and I have a conversation around the topic. This week's topic, less is more, which has been interesting. Some people are understanding it and others are struggling with the concept. I'm still not sure where Bob is on all of this, so maybe we'll wrap it up with a bow today and have some clarity around that. We'll see. And as we go through that conversation, if you have thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, your value, please feel free to put it in the comments, because we love adding comments to our show. And at the conclusion of our conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing. That's why we call the show Today's Antidote, our Today's Antidote. And if we hope that antidote might help you figure out how to take your next step along your own unique pathway to success, or maybe just help find some clarity, confidence, as you try to move forward. Eliminate some of that confusion, overwhelm, uncertainty, lack of confidence. We don't need any more of that. Confidence and control. That's what we're trying to help you find. And of course, if you have a one thing, your antidote, that you would like to share, please feel free to put that in the comments as well. You just never know who out there might be looking, waiting to hear exactly what you have to say and actually hear it. Before we dive into the conversation, though, each morning, Bob and I share our celebrations. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm celebrating today the fact that today's antidote that we came up with like 3 years ago still works. I remember when we talked through it, and it's like, this would be an antidote because we're going through COVID and we didn't really know much about what we could do or not do. And we came up with that wording. And when you said it this morning, it clicked for me again. It's like, man, that is really... That was inspired by the two of us. It's held up and it works even in a post-COVID world.
Yes.
And maybe even more so.
Yeah, I think it's, because it's not, every antidote doesn't work for every person the same. And so it's just one thing that you can try to help you figure out
Right. We've had over 1,700 of them. Right. Which is a lot of things to consider. Which I think is part of the beauty of it. Doesn't mean, if you gave me 1,790 things, I'd be overwhelmed. I'd probably avoid them all, but we parse them out one by one.
It would be fascinating to get someone to go through all 890 episodes and put together.
See if they could survive them back to back.
Well, all they have to do is go to the end.
Marathon weekend.
You go to the end.
The Friends Marathon.
Well, you could just go to the end, right? You don't have to listen to all the conversations we have before and just say, what's the antidote? Here's it is. Probably a computer could do it quickly. If you could get the script from all of them, right? There's software that turns video into
There is.
text, and then go and search, find antidote, copy paste.
I have a way I think I might be able. I'll work on that in my spare time. I might surprise you in a couple weeks. I need some time. Something came to mind that I think I can try.
It would be a fascinating collection, I think.
I'd be curious how many repeat.
Well, I think, I was thinking about this the other day too, is that, I think they would repeat in that there's certain messages that we believe are a key component of being a renegade, of how we go about our daily lives, work and non-work. And so I think that there are consistencies in some of it, and yet I can't imagine that any are exactly the same.
No, I was going to say they're probably informed by the situation we're in.
Yes, you could probably take some of them and group them together as judgment, I would imagine.
Right. Or
together as
leadership, or starting a business.
At least I do. I have a few things that I repeat.
It's actually it would be an interesting compilation.
I think so too.
All right, I'll work on that in my spare time. Kelly's going where I think you and I were going without saying it out loud. Kelly says you could theme it out and write a book. And by the way, Kelly, I love the phrase "theme it out."
Yeah,
because you know what she's done. This is what's so great about the English language. I'm going to be a writer geek for a second.
Oh boy. Okay.
Theme is a noun, right? But she's using it as a verb, and it works really well there.
Look at you, the writer.
And Kelly says, I would buy that book. Okay, there you go, Tom.
Have you ever sent Kelly her book?
Yeah, she should have gotten it, hopefully.
Yeah, Kelly, let us know if you got.
Yeah, let me know if you got it, because I have had 2 books that I've sent out in the last couple months that did not get where they were intended to go. One got back to me, and the other is in someone's hands somewhere, but not the person whose hands I was hoping it would land in.
Probably sitting in the post office somewhere, thinking it can't be delivered.
I can't imagine a letter carrier reading it, but that's just me.
All right. So your celebration?
It was that the today's antidote has worked.
Oh, right.
Tom,
sorry.
hello. Come back.
I forgot how we got there.
Check 1, 2, 3.
I just forgot how we got there.
There you go. Kelly says, not yet, but Canadian Post is slow, LOL. Okay. Let me know, Kelly. If it's not there when you think it should be there, let me know.
Yes.
All right. So, Tom, what's your today? I'm sorry. What's your one thing that you're celebrating? I got confused.
My celebration today is I'm going to celebrate someone else. Okay. I have I don't know how, a friend. I'm going to call them a friend. And also, they're also a mentor, coach,
okay.
Kind of all of the above. My first probably business coach.
Okay.
And the other day, she celebrated her 100th podcast episode, which I was like, that's a celebration. And she celebrated it she interviews people, coaches. And she celebrated by having a conversation with her business partner, her original business partner.
Oh.
And it was fun to just listen to them. I have great respect for both of them. And she's one of the first people who taught me about celebrations and the value of celebrations. And so I'm glad that she was.
And her name in her podcast?
What's that? Can I
her name in her podcast? I mean,
yeah.
You've got me thinking I should binge it. So
her name is Melinda Cohen.
Okay.
And her
Cohen, right?
Cohan. I believe.
An, sorry.
Yeah, I always get that. I forget that. And her podcast is called Just Between Coaches.
Okay.
And it is I've listened to a few of the episodes, and
And Kelly says, I know who you're talking about. I just graduated from her program. Look at that. Congratulations.
Yes, I am a multi-time graduate of her programs. I'm very fond of Melinda, and I think she also has a lot of value to share.
I've applied 3 times and wasn't accepted. Apparently my transcript isn't strong enough. I'm kidding. I have not applied. That was a joke.
Maybe there's somebody who kept you out.
Yeah. Well, now I see 2 somebodies as a starting.
So anyhow, I want to celebrate her celebration.
Awesome.
I think it's great when people choose to do things like that. And, I know that she and a few other people from that program were very kind to be a part of our 500th episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I was grateful for that. So
yes,
I was happy to return the favor and enjoy her 100th celebration.
Awesome. Congratulations, Melinda. It's quite an accomplishment. We understand the effort that goes into this.
No doubt.
We understand it. We don't employ it, but we understand it.
Fair. All right. So let's get to the topic.
Okay. So hypothetically, Tom, I want to sort of walk us through this topic. So let's say you have a 4-bedroom house that you have to move everything from into another space. Doesn't matter what the other space is. It could be, I don't know, let's say another house, a condominium. It could be an apartment. It really doesn't matter. But you have this 4-bedroom house that you have to move all this stuff from. You could go haphazardly room to room, right? And just take something. Oh, let's take the bed frame out of the master bedroom, and let's take the clothes out of the 3rd closet. And let's do this, let's do that. Or you could go room by room and say, we're going to take all the stuff out of this room. We're going to start in the back and work our way forward. And I've come to realize, again, I've moved several times in the last couple of years. I've helped other people move several times. I was helping someone move, in fact, yesterday. As for me, psychologically moving, it's very hard to just not see progress. So to me, if you have a room emptied out, that's progress. And you start to feel like, oh, we're making progress. If you've got stuff and you're just taking things room by room, like 1 thing or 2 things per room, you don't see the progress. And I feel the same way in my business often. And the way I avoid overwhelm is I have a list in the morning of things I'm going to do for the day. And I try to break it down to smaller units. So if I've got to make, I don't know, let's say 50 calls today. I'm making calls to people today. That's what I'm doing. I don't say, oh, I got to do 50 calls. I tell myself I'm going to do 5 calls and then I'm going to take a 5-minute break and go get another cup of coffee or stretch or listen to a song. And so the way I avoid overwhelm, because 50 calls this morning, that's a lot to do, man. I will hem and haw and drag my feet because it's overwhelming. And so I think, and you and I have talked to a lot of people as we've coached them. It's one of the things in our Renegade Success Network that I think we're fairly good at is helping people break down big things. I want to scale my business. Okay, what does that mean? Okay, you want to double sales? Well, let's start here.
We talked about that last week. If you really want to know what scaling means, go back and listen to last week.
Right. And we talked through it, but that's a common thing. Or I want to be more efficient. Or I want to hire an employee. Well, you can't just go out and pull someone off the street. You have to know what they're going to do. I mean, you could plenty do it, but it tends to be helpful to understand what they're going to do before you hire them. Understand what the responsibilities are, how you're going to manage them. Are they going to be remote? Are they going to be at your location? And I think one of the things that I've learned in the last couple of years working with you a lot is how important it is to break things down, to avoid being overwhelmed. Like starting a business. I was talking to someone about starting a business a couple of weeks ago, and she was like, I don't know where to start. And I said, can I offer you a simple suggestion? She's like, yeah. I said, what makes you want to do it? And she said, well, I've always wanted to start a business. I said, okay, that's a good start. What's the next thing? Why? There's got to be a why. I said, because it's hard work. And then once you know the why, once she got the why, we could start talking about, well, okay. And she was all fixated on the name. That was the most important thing to her. And I said, the name's important. I'm not going to say it's, but what are you selling is even more important. And who's going to buy it? And I said, you got like a pick list of 6 things you have to do. It's just like, I guess the other thing to avoid overwhelm is I bought a new house one time and there was a punch list of all the things that they needed to fix before we settled. And the guy wrote down probably 55, 60 things minimum. And then they came in the next day and literally checked off each one as they did it. And then we went back to that list the next day or 2 days later, I think, and looked at that list and went through. Oh, okay. The nail pop in the ceiling in the master bedroom. Yep, they're fixed. The vent cover that's crooked, that's straightened out. If it had been, hey, Bob, just go into the house and remember everything you said for him to do, I couldn't do it. It would be overwhelming. How am I going to remember 55 things? So that list became really valuable. To me, that's the less, right? Because you're taking that house has to be ready for sale. Everything should be perfect. It's a big project, and you're compressing it into individual items. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's interesting. I was in a whole different space when I was thinking about about the topic. And it reminded me of, and I'm sure you've heard this story because I've told it before, and I shared it actually Wednesday, with a group of interns that I've been doing a project with. Is, the information usually that we share, or that someone else shares with us, they have more knowledge, experience, and perspective around it. Usually, because we're asking or they're asking to learn. And we have the opportunity to give them all that we have. Likely that's going to lead to overwhelm. Or we have the opportunity to share some of it with them. When I was graduating from high school, tell me if you've heard this story. On the day of graduation, I was the class president. And so I was supposed to.
Of course you were.
There were only 48 people, random luck.
You say that like everyone else here would have gotten to be president if there were 48 people. I would not have been.
Well, you never know. Who knows? So I had to give some remarks, and it was about a half an hour before I was supposed to go. And my mom said, "Have you written down your remarks?" Typical my response, "Nah, I got it covered. I know what I want to talk about." And she was like, "Wow, what? You're going to get up there in front of all those people?" Again, there were only 48 people in the graduating class. So it wasn't like there were 1,000 people at the graduation. And, you're going to probably feel a little bit differently. And how do you make sure you get across what you want to get across? And she was like, "So have you written it down?" I'm like, "No." She said, "Well, you might want to think about that. And here's another tip she gave me." She said, "Only share 3 things. Have 3 points," which was great. She was like, 1, you can likely remember 3 things. So even if you just have the bullets down about what you want to talk about, you can remember what you want to say. 2, the audience may be able to remember 1 or 2 of those things. Maybe. And so if you share 10 things, there's less likelihood they're going to remember any of them. And thirdly, she said, and maybe most importantly, they're not there to see you talk. So you can give your 3 things and get out of the way so they can actually watch their kids graduate, which is truly what they want to do. And that really hit home with me, not at the time, although I did write them down and took advantage of her value at the moment. It has since become a significant part of every presentation that I've done, especially if I'm doing it as not the highlight, right? I'm not the feature presenter. Because it gives me an opportunity. I always remember that. It's like, they're not here for me. I was the president of a small nonprofit that worked with the school system, and it was around supporting the arts at my kid's school. And so I used to have a chance to get up in front of before a performance and just talk a little bit about the organization. And the president before me always went up with a big clipboard and had many things to share. And you could just see everybody sort of squirm. So when I had the opportunity that was my responsibility, I went up there and I got 3 things. Here's what I'm going to share. And I almost usually would say is because I know none of you are here to listen to me. You're ready to hear your kids perform or see your kids perform. And I think that that lesson was really helpful. And then to carry it a little bit further, many times when I've had presentations where I actually was the presenter, you've been very helpful with me because I usually share some of those with you before in sort of a dry run in saying it's too much. What is the one thing you want to get across to them? Because that's the thing that you want to make sure that they remember and that they're clear on what's that 1 or 2 points that you want to make. And right now you're making about 6 and it's not super clear. And so I think that that was one of the things that I really try to think about when I'm sharing information is how much can they absorb? And again, I feel like I'm hardly sharing anything. And yet in reality, what they're gaining from the value that I am sharing. And if I tried to share too much, they might not catch any of it, or they might get bored and start thinking about other things.
I like that. Well, that could be helpful for starters. And then second, I think that's true. I think it's a great example in speaking or teaching people that, think about how you direct someone from one location to another, right? Hey, if I'm coming to your house, hey, hop on this road, go here, go here. Okay, are you with me so far? Right? We say that when in the old days,
Sure.
like doing hand directions, and then you do another 3 steps. Okay, are you with me so far? You know what I'm talking? Yes, you got it written down. Yes, and then so you parse it into smaller units because if there are 26 different turns, it's hard to get all 26. And at the end, go, okay, so that's the 26 steps. You got it? And they go, yes, and it never works.
Right. How many times have you gotten lost doing that? They say, oh, it's easy. Just go down here, make a left and then a right. And then at the tree, turn left. And you're like, okay, great. And then you get started and you're like, was it right at the tree or left at the tree? Or what am I supposed to be doing here? Yeah.
And with little kids, you have to give them one thing at a time, right?
Well, I think yes. And how many times have you opened up the instructions to something that you are now trying to use and looked at it and been like, what is this?
You mean like IKEA things that have 38 instructions with
And
800 parts? Yeah.
We have some comments that I want to share.
Okay, awesome.
Kelly says, thanks for this. I booked my first talk in November. Mrs. Brush is very insightful. Yes, she is. She's very insightful. And
that would be your wife, right?
No,
not your mother.
Mom. That's my mom. Because I was telling the story about my mom sharing.
Oh, okay.
Are you paying attention over there?
Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you, Tom. I got distracted and I went to Chat GPT to see if it would pull out our today's antidotes, and it replied with this. I apologize for the confusion, but as an AI language model, I don't have real-time browsing capabilities, and my knowledge is limited to what was available up to September 2021. As of my last update, there is no information about a podcast called Today's Antidote, hosted by Bob Graham and Tom Brush. It's possible that this podcast was launched or became popular after my last update, or it may not exist at all. So I got totally distracted by it may not exist at all. I had sort of an existential crisis, like maybe we're just talking to ourselves here.
Although Kelly and Missy have responded, and Missy says,
I wish your mom told the Gettysburg graduation keynote her advice. Yes, very much so.
And then she follows
up. For those of us who had to memorize it, indeed. 45 minutes of inane comments from the publisher of the Huffington Post. Oh.
Well, and I think that goes a little bit back to what we talked about yesterday, is thinking that more is about me.
Mm-hmm.
Because really, if people in the audience are like, yeah, that was 45 minutes of information I never need again. And you can't control that, right? You could have someone else in the room might have said, wow, that was the best 45 minutes of information I've ever received. And I think that the opportunity is there to think that I don't have to overwhelm them with every piece of information that I have around this topic. How do I give them a couple of things that they might remember that might be helpful? And I think that that's really thinking about them, not thinking about me or, how much I know or how great my information is, and it's such wisdom that everybody's going to want to hear it, and they're going to want to listen to 45 minutes of it. I happen to see
no
this
one
comment.
said that. Even the Gettysburg president was pacing.
Well, and that's when then you might start to think that, and if you're a speaker and you're sort of paying attention, maybe there's an opportunity to be aware of the audience. And again,
well, I think
be aware and be like,
that's what matured speaking really becomes, when you start to be able to read your audience. Like I've helped people present, and I'll say to them, hey, if I was there, I'm like, hey, did you notice the reaction about a third of the way through? And they're like, no, what happened? I said, people started coughing. Someone stood up and went to the back to get some water. What do you think that's all about? And they're like, oh, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah.
And I think as speakers and as writers, as communicators in any form, the more you start thinking about your audience, I think that's where you start to have a shift in how you're portrayed, because it's no longer about how many big words can Bob use when he's writing 100-word or 1,000-word essay. It's how many analogies, how many situations can he bring to the reader that makes them go, oh, now I understand. So it's their language. Same thing with marketing, right?
Sure.
If it's my language and how I see it, it doesn't work as much as if we have examples like the moving example today. I think almost every person that we talk to has been involved in a move.
Probably.
And so it works universally. If I'd said, well, there's a situation when you're a writer and you're writing a 5-paragraph essay and it's about a very specific topic, and 80% of the people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And someone right now is having a flashback to 5-paragraph essays in high school and going, no, it's okay. You'll be strong.
Okay. So I was going to ask you what your one thing is. And I wanted to first ask, because I know you were a little hesitant about this concept. Where are you at now? When we started the week. So where are you at now?
I think, believe it or not, talking through it this morning, I understand it in a new way that gives me some clarity around what we were talking about. And I also see some applications and why you were bringing it to my attention. Things I haven't shared here that maybe I will in coming episodes. But I think the big takeaway, and I think this is my one thing that probably is universal for the whole week, and it's sort of the overarching one, is when it's less is more, whether it's avoiding overwhelm or anything, it's about the other people, not you. And I think that's the thing I've got to get through my head. What is it? What do the people I'm serving, whatever serving looks like, need from me for them to be comfortable? And throwing 18 lessons at them when they might get 1, 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky. 18 makes me look really, wow, you're really smart. You had 18 things to tell them. But the reality is they've forgotten all of them. So I haven't been effective. How about you?
So before I jump to mine,
okay,
I glossed over this, and I meant to say this, and then we kind of kept moving through.
Oh,
congratulations, Kelly, on booking your first talk.
Yes.
Good luck with it.
Yes. If you want to talk through it, excuse the pun, I'm happy to talk to you. I've talked through lots of speaking with people.
With me as well.
Yeah.
And here's my one thing.
Okay, I'm ready.
About less is more.
Okay.
If we give them more, we give them all that we have, why would they come back for anything else? So if we give them less, we leave them wanting more.
I see what you did there. All righty.
What?
That's where this all started for you and me about 2 weeks ago. Kelly says, thank you. I will take you up on it. I would love the excuse to get to talk to you, Kelly. So that's purely selfish. What? No, I love Kelly's comments. I've never talked to
I do as
Kelly.
well. I agree.
And now I know she's a graduate of your program. So, I'm in awe of you people that graduate from this program.
Yeah. So I just think that if we give them everything we have,
mm-hmm.
What are they going to come back? They're going to feel like, oh, okay, I got it all. I'm going to move forward. When in reality, you likely haven't. You've just given that appearance that you have given them everything you have. And I think that maybe doesn't leave them looking for more.
All right. Well, it's been a great week. I've grown somewhere in this week. I mean, it's still 6'6", so see, I've grown. Yeah. Sight gag. Every now and then you need a sight gag. Podcast people have no idea what's happening.
No idea what's happening.
And they're better for
it. Well, they're different for it. I don't know that they're better. That's a judgment.
So, folks, if something we talked about today resonates with you and you're saying, boy, I really like to try to figure this out. I feel like I'm giving more when I should be giving less, or I'm overwhelmed and I just don't know where to go. Tom and I would love to talk to you. We have the Sculpt Your Business program and the Renegade Success Network. That's all that we talked about this week is what we help people with, including each other. We are constantly helping each other with this. And that's where all this started, believe it or not. So it's kind of funny. We've come full circle. I think that you and I were overwhelmed when the COVID came. And this was a way to break it down and say, you know what, less is more. Let's take one day at a time. And here we are, 890 episodes later.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. So we do have a little knowledge about what we're talking about. And if that's something you want to talk to us about, please contact us. Easy. You can direct message us. You can FaceTime us. You can whatever you want to do to get to us. Or you can go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. More information there. And thank you, Kelly and Missy, for your comments today. Really, really appreciate it. It makes these episodes so much more fun when we have interaction with folks. It really does. It's my favorite part, believe it or not. And no, because you have to bring in, I like the art of bringing in the comments and keeping it rolling.
Not in interacting with me.
You and I kind of have a sense of what we're doing, but the comments are wild cards. To me, that's the tightrope part of it that I really enjoy.
I'm not sure I have a sense of what you're going to say.
I did throw you today, didn't I?
And I have a sense sometimes that you're not expecting what I'm going to say.
And there are times that I don't know what I'm going to say, honestly. Today
Fair
being
enough.
one of them. So,
all right, everyone. Thanks so much for being with us. If you are on the podcast, as Bob mentioned, and you're still not clear about what's happening, you can always join us.
You're not alone.
You can always join us inside our Facebook group, Sculpt Your Business, from chaos and confusion to confidence and control. And you too can be a part of our Renegade Success Network, where oftentimes, people are uncertain about what to do next. That sometimes is a challenge that gets in the way. And then there are others who know what they want to do. They're just not sure how to do it. And finally, I think one of the biggest challenges, we know what we want to do. We know how to do it. Yet how do we remain accountable for it? So if those are things that you're struggling with, let us know, because our Sculpt Your Business program can help you figure out how to go from that chaos and confusion to having some confidence and control around your next steps. So we look forward to seeing you inside of our Facebook group, maybe a part of our program. If not, have a great weekend, and we will see you Monday morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
Can't wait. It'll be a new topic. Maybe it'll be more is less. Who knows? That would be fun. Switch it up and try to figure it out. Just throwing it out there for what's worth. In the meantime, folks, no matter what you do this weekend, today, Saturday, Sunday, whether you're doing a cookout or watching NASCAR or moving stuff to the dump, whatever you're up to, hey, you know what? Embrace the renegading you. It will be worth it. I promise you, you will hit the ground running on Monday in a great way if you embrace the renegading you.
Yes. All right, everyone. Go out and enjoy your day. We will see you soon.
Hey, it's Sculpt Your Business time. You can go from chaos and confusion to confidence and control. We can take you there. That's right. We can give you the pathway. We'll help you figure out your own unique pathway towards success. It's as simple as contacting us. Contact Bob or Tom, or go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. You will thank yourself and feel so much more confident and so much more in control of your day and your future. It's easy. We'll help you get there.